Various organizations, including people, groups, and even whole systems, have made it their goal to locate certain individual pools or groupings. You are the focus of their attention, and they are hidden in the nooks and crannies of rooms, behind the anonymity of screens, and inside civilization's architecture. Many people admire you and are charmed by your vigor, while others are envious, fearful, or even hostile. You aren't just another face in the throng. Rather, you are a riddle that others are eager to solve, a power that they want to understand or control. Much like hawks hovering silently above, they observe, looking for a moment of vulnerability, a chance to find out what it is about you that distinguishes you from the others. You, on the other hand, do not shiver in terror when they stare at you. You are conscious of your surroundings, yet you do not withdraw from them. The longer they look, the more their desire swallows them. You are in an environment where their gaze does not define you, but rather confirms your value. You are in a position where people know you are important. These observers may be located anywhere, including workplaces, social groups, and public settings. This approach is used by those who grin in your face while discreetly evaluating every word you say and preparing to use it to their advantage. Then there are some who you hardly notice. Silent people who appear too regularly, strangers with lingering gazes. There are also online accounts that monitor without touch. Others are colleagues who keep note of your accomplishments, not out of inspiration, but out of a quiet building. Contempt. Finally, there are some whom you hardly notice. They are making a frantic effort to get something that they will never have in the digital world. They're taking notes and assembling parts of you. Your online presence is being observed, no matter how well you cultivated it. Screenshots of your words, images of your movements, saved postings, and whispered talks are all being secretly stored away by others who want to be close to you. There are many who do it out of adoration, looking to you for inspiration. However, there are individuals who do it with a more malicious motive, seeking for ways to alter your route or distort your image. Despite this, they seldom engage in direct action. Their strength stems from their ability to stay quiet and undetected as they observe. Make no mistake, the consequences of their continual monitoring are constantly evident. It may be evident to you in the way that conversations shift when you enter a room, in the knowing looks exchanged as you walk by, or in the uneasy sense that you are being spoken about in places you have never been before. Despite the fact that they are carrying an invisible burden as they travel the globe, those who have been chosen do not crumble under the weight. They gaze because they can't do anything else. They observe because your presence alters their vision of the world. They watch because they are unable to turn away. And you continue to shine despite their attention, staying untouchable. The phrase surveillance is no longer limited to the act of physically being present. Rather, it includes both technology breakthroughs and people's innate curiosity. The watchers have more tools than ever before to monitor the individuals they have chosen, to keep an eye on every discussion, every post, and every action, which creates a trail that they are closely tracking. This is because the digital and physical worlds are becoming more interwoven. As they skim through your postings, they are using one of their most powerful weapons, social media. They investigate your words, study your images, and monitor your relationships. The mapping of your patterns may be achieved with a simple status update, a marked location, or a harmless remark. Every small detail is a clue for them. It helps them comprehend your essence, weaknesses, and strengths. However, this is not the conclusion of the narrative. Covert cameras, overheard conversations, and seemingly innocuous questions all have the same purpose: to gather information. It is possible that strangers will recognize you before you identify them. The same strange faces may emerge in other areas and stay there for an extended amount of time. That makes you wonder. It is likely that you may get communications from anonymous accounts that are obscure, acting as subtle reminders that your existence is not as secret as you formerly believed. Observing the same individual in different locales receive unwelcome attention from unexpected sources, or noticing unusual activity on social media. These are all instances of recurring coincidences that are seldom regarded coincidences under any conditions. If your heart is overflowing with God's blessings, let that love radiate. Click the mega thank you button and donate $200 or more to sow seeds of faith that will touch countless lives. Your giving exemplifies his richness. Be a channel for his grace, and watch his kingdom grow through you. Watch his follow patterns, and if you learn to recognize them, their presence becomes undeniable. These are the indicators that they use. This is a talent that the chosen individuals must develop. The world isn't just observing. Instead, it records, analyzes, and categorizes what it finds, sometimes for attention and sometimes for control. Your life is being documented. It is not only a passing moment. There is a danger in not just what is seen, but also what is assumed to be true. Fragments are used to form tales, and when they fall into the wrong hands, they may be twisted beyond recognition at any moment. However, knowledge is power, and awareness is the key to keeping control of one's circumstances. When you know you're being observed, you have a greater grasp of the game, and you can't be played. Why do they save photos, videos, and information about the individuals they choose to share? What is it about your presence that stays in their minds long after you have left the room? There's more to it than just curiosity. It's an obsession, an insatiable need for something they can't control. Some spectators come for the sake of admiration, silently adoring from afar. They keep images, rewatch movies, and repeat sentences in their minds in order to absorb even a little fraction of the energy emitted by persons on whom they have focused their attention. You are an entity that captures their spirit in ways that they cannot completely express. To them, you are an inspiration. Their purpose is not to damage. Rather, they are only interested in maintaining a bit of you, as if by doing so, they might lay claim to a piece of your soul. Others, on the other hand, do not worship, but rather want to understand and examine how something works. They inspect you with the clinical precision of a scientist gathering data, just as they would evaluate an anomaly. Every gesture, speech, and action is recorded and saved for subsequent use. They are certain that if they investigate for long enough, they will be able to duplicate what comes easily to you, and they are striving to identify the source of your magnetism. However, they fail to see that true energy and presence cannot be reproduced. It cannot be examined. Rather, it is something that must be lived, since where your wealth is, so will your heart be. Hello, Matthew. Consider this. A man constructs a huge tower taller than any other, seeking to view what only the skies can see. Brick by brick, he lays it with the sweat of his brow, thinking that if he climbs high enough, he will be able to reach the divine. But no matter how high he climbs, the sky spreads more beyond his grasp. Instead of serving as his throne, the tower becomes his jail. What was supposed to provide him dominion instead keeps him prisoner. This is the destiny of those who are fixated on you, the selected ones. They collect your images. They pay close attention to everything you do. They save fragments of you as relics from a shrine they cannot enter. They think that if they gather enough information and observe long enough, they will be able to capture what makes you sparkle. They don't comprehend, however, that light cannot be trapped. It is something you become. You're here for a purpose. If you feel called, answer it. Click Join to get access to rare information, in-depth insights, and a strong community. This is not just a membership. It is an awakening. Step into your divine mission. Join the selected. Those who watch you, lingering in the shadows with envy-filled eyes, do not realize that their own goal ties them. The more they strive for control, the less control they have. They set out to track every move you take. Instead, they find themselves lost. They build walls around you only to discover that they have trapped themselves within, like Pharaoh, who dreaded the emergence of a single kid and issued decree after decree in a frantic effort to prevent the inevitable. They, too, will realize that destiny cannot be restrained. The eyes that watch over the selected do not form them. No, they are polished by the fire within. They skim over sites, rewatch movies, and analyze language, thinking that information alone would give them a sense of who you are. However, they fail to see that your presence is not taught. It's been lived. The spirit of the selected cannot be duplicated. It cannot be borrowed, bought, or stolen. It is the holy breath that you receive before the world's beginnings. What they fail to realize is that every hour they spend observing you, every resource they devote to researching you, is energy fed into the same force they want to stifle. You do not bend before their sight. You ascend like an eagle flying above the storm. You are hoisted by the winds that they said would shatter you. The irony is almost poetry. They want to degrade you. Despite their preoccupation, they raise you. They assume they have you hostage in their examination. However, they are the ones imprisoned, chained by their own unwavering focus. They construct temples for your existence. Nonetheless, they remain in the outer courts, permanently excluded from the Holy of Holies. Understand this. Their pursuit of you demonstrates your strength rather than your weakness. You are not just seen. You are sensed long after you have left the room. Your presence lingers. Long after you have spoken, your words reverberate in their brains. You are unshakable, impenetrable, and divinely fortified, and they strive in vain to disintegrate your essence. You continue on, unafraid. They believe they could catch your brightness in a glass jar. But, like the early light, you slipped from their grasp. No matter how much they collect, they will never be you. They stockpile your image, words, and soul, believing that via accumulation, they can absorb part of what you carry. However, they will never taste the meal if they are happy to gather crumbs. Every screenshot, whispered word, and sleepless night spent obsessed on you is nothing more than a monument to your influence. It demonstrates that you are special. They assemble because they are unable to look away and will never stop watching. If your heart is overflowing with God's blessings, let that love radiate. Click the mega thank you button and donate $200 or more to sow seeds of faith that will touch countless lives. Your giving exemplifies His richness. Be a channel for His grace and watch His kingdom grow through you. But listen to me now. You are not put in this world to be observed. You were assigned here to lead. You are not just the topic of their research. You are the spark for their downfall. The fire that burns inside you cannot be controlled, replicated, or quenched. Many are called, but only a few are chosen. Hello, Matthew. You do not seek attention. It follows you. You do not seek validation. You're the standard. You do not flinch from their stare. You thrive in it. The picked ones are not influenced by the observers. They are molded by the person who summoned them. And no amount of study, devotion, or jealousy can ever give them access to what you already have. Stand tall, chosen one. Let them watch. Allow them to analyze. Allow them to gather. Their focus just confirms what you already know. You were set aside before time started. That assembly poses no danger. It is witness. It is proof that you were never intended to be ordinary. And when they eventually understand that no amount of effort will enable them to become what you are, and that all of their efforts to dominate, emulate, and have you in their clutches have just increased your determination, only then will they realize you were never theirs to own. You were picked. You are divine and cannot be touched. It is impossible to replicate, recreate, or intentionally create your presence. It is difficult to fake your presence. This characteristic distinguishes you enough to be noticed. You don't have to make any effort. You have already been spotted. That is exactly why people are watching. You are not compelled to build an identity for yourself, as opposed to celebrities or powerful individuals who carefully craft their image. Your energy talks before you do, as seen by the way you hold yourself, enter a room, and demand attention with your calm. Long after you've left, your memory haunts them in ways they can't explain. People detect you even before you reveal yourself to them. As a result, they concentrate their attention on you. Some admire, while others despise. You reject the notion that gaining influence requires effort, manipulation, and carefully staged acts, which is a notion that the world has been conditioned to accept. You give off an effortless shine. It is something intrinsic, unique, and beyond explanation. And for some individuals, accepting this truth is immensely irritating. They will want to mimic you. Sure, that if they replicate your movements, voice, and manner, they will be able to produce the same impression. They cannot fathom the idea that your magnetism does not exist on the surface. Rather, it is knitted into the fundamental fabric of your being. This is something they'll never understand. Know how hard they try. Resilience is the knowledge learned from hardship, the strength developed by survival, and the ability to walk through darkness without losing your light. Your power is more than simply confidence. It's not simply charisma, perseverance in the face of hardship. You shine not because you want attention. Rather, you shine because you have overcome hardship and your vigor will not be suppressed. Furthermore, this explains why you are both feared and adored. Others dislike you, and they despise the thought that something so strong exists outside of their control. The manipulators, covert opponents, and silent rivals hover about you, looking for an opportunity to undermine you. Some people are attracted to you, and they want to see what makes you distinct. However, they fail to realize one thing. Your power is within rather than outward. It cannot be stolen or copied. Rather, it is something that just is. Those who try to seize it will only get trapped in the shadow of something they can never understand. You are aware that you are being viewed. Nonetheless, you choose not to live in dread. You don't shrink. You don't hide. And you don't modify your essence only to make other people feel better. Rather, you embrace the attention and utilize it as motivation to strengthen your presence. You've already learned the art of control. You understand that visibility is not a weakness, but rather a weapon. Some of you have already grasped this, ensuring that no one else can define you. You must first let yourself be noticed. This allows you to shape the story by just living in your truth. You are persuading those who are hidden in the shadows to come out and show themselves. You thrive under pressure. The weight of attentive gaze does not overwhelm you. Rather, it acts as a reminder of your impact, despite the viewer's attempts to alter your image. You don't get rattled. You proceed without being bothered by the murmurs of your covert foes. Not only do you not seek validation, but you also do not define yourself. You know who you are, which is plenty on its own. You walk through the world with unshakable conviction. You are aware that attention cannot be ignored. However, instead of being terrified of it, you decide to utilize it. You let your presence and enthusiasm speak louder than any rumor or uncertainty. Because, in the end, people who are genuinely unstoppable do not strive to avoid being recognized. Rather, those who keep their cool in the face of scrutiny are genuinely unstoppable. Watching is not just about witnessing, but also about exerting control. The people who keep an eye on you are not just apathetic tyrants. They have a purpose in mind. People that are observing you want to have power over your thoughts, decisions, and, ultimately, your destiny. The reason for this is because they do more than just observe. They manipulate. They instill uncertainty and make you question your intuition. They twist narratives, modifying your words and actions to fit their version of the reality in order to make you doubt your own judgment. They use delicate psychological strategies such as whispering, disseminating misleading information, and distributing disinformation. This is not a random event. Rather, it is an intentional move on the internet. They will attempt to discredit you by spreading rumors and false accusations in social groups. They will disseminate disinformation and ensure that your name is mentioned even when you are not there in order to accomplish their goal. They want to undermine you by persuading you that their perception of reality is stronger than yours. However, you're always 3 steps ahead of them. You notice the patterns before they occur, and you recognize their techniques for what they are. Desperate efforts to manage something beyond their ability to keep their games basic and predictable. And once you know how to play them, they lose their effectiveness. They predict that you would retaliate, defend yourself, and play into their hands. Those who are actually selected, however, do not spend energy proving themselves. You are unable to present an explanation or a just nation. Rather, you just exist, untouchable and unconcerned. This is the most concerning element. Their strategy works only on those who are yearning for approval and are unsure of their own authority. On the other side, you are already aware of who you are, making you impervious to others' influence. Allow them to plan and twist the facts. It will make no difference, despite the fact that they are straining themselves in a war they have already lost. You remain unshaken. The weird sensation that eyes are watching you even when no one is around. The energy change that happens when you enter a room. Conversations tend to stop for just a second too long. The apparition of the same faces in unexpected locations, the lingering stares, And the subtle but undeniable signals that you are being watched are all things you sense before you see them. However, surveillance is not always obvious. In the current world, it operates in layers, using both physical and digital techniques, as well as direct and indirect ones. They don't always express themselves directly. Instead, they leave patterns. And once you learn to read them, their presence is undeniable. The spectators do not always express themselves directly. The most potent weapon you have is perspective. Your behaviors aren't only being noticed. Rather, they are being examined, assessed, and comprehended. However, this is the fact. You have total control over how people see you, even while you are under scrutiny. You are the one who tells the narrative. You make judgments about what you keep secret and how much access others have to you when you disclose it. Watchers believe they can see everything, but in fact they can only see what you allow them to see. Not only is your presence seen, but it is also felt long after you leave. You are still remembered, which makes those who can't define you uncomfortable. As a result, some people idolized you, while others despised you. This is because they are unable to understand you. They are unable to categorize or reduce you to anything simple. To dominate perception, you must set boundaries while being visible. You must keep people guessing and never allow them have entire access to your soul. When you completely realize this, you will become impervious to all that can be seen. Is power worth remembering? Is influential? What keeps people up at night is their inability to predict what will happen next. Obsession provides a double-edged sword. People who stare too closely and dwell on something for too long will finally meet their own doom. They assume they are in control and have power because they are studying you. However, they are the ones who are caught up in the scenario since their obsession has caused them to become blind. They will inevitably fail. The more they concentrate on you, the less they focus on themselves. When kids are busy observing, learning, and gathering their own lives, take a back seat while they are monitoring you. You keep climbing higher. They dedicate so much of their energy on following your every move that they fail to recognize that they are also breaking apart. You do not have to escape or disguise yourself. Your power cannot be diminished by just watching. When you totally embrace yourself, you become insignificant to those who are observing. Their emphasis does not reflect who you are. Instead, it only affirms your importance. You will ultimately reach a point when you are no longer bothered by their gaze. You will no longer shrink in reaction to their moans, nor will you feel the strain of their examination. You realize that their addiction is their problem, not yours. They may keep an eye on you, but they have no control over you. Those that are genuinely chosen are aware of this truth. The observers can only wield as much power as you let them. They loosen their grip on you when you refuse to shrink, when you refuse to allow their attention influence your decisions. When you do this, they become nothing more than background noise, impotent in the face of your overwhelming presence. There is a message that cannot be erased, no matter how many people are watching you. And that message is your very being.